Alright, so I am back for the interpretation of the Emerald Tablets by Doriel. This is in the Emerald Tablets of Thoth-The Atlantean. This is going to be the last video I make about the Emerald Tablets in this book. Like I said, I probably will go on further to do the Corpus Hermeticum, the Divine Pymander, and others such as that. Okay, so this is the interpretation by Doriel. Okay, so this is it. It has an introduction to the interpretation of the Emerald Tablets. Okay, so the introduction. In the following pages, I will reveal some of the mysteries, which as yet have only been touched upon lightly, either by myself or other teachers or students of truth. Man's search for understanding of the laws which regulate his life has been unending. Yet always just beyond the veil which shields the higher planes from material man's vision, the truth has existed, ready to be assimilated by those who enlarge their vision by turning inward, not outward, in their search. In the silence of the material senses lies the key to the unveiling of wisdom. He who talks does not know, he who knows does not talk. The highest knowledge is unutterable, for it exists as an entity in planes which transcend all material words or symbols. All symbols are but keys to doors leading to truth, and many times the door is not opened because the key seems so great that the things which are beyond it is not visible. If we can understand that all keys, all material symbols are manifestations, are but extensions of a great law and truth, we will begin to develop the vision which will enable us to penetrate beyond the veil. All things in all universes move according to law, and the law which regulates the movement of the planets is no more immutable than the law which regulates the material expressions of man. One of the greatest of all cosmic laws is that which is responsible for the formation of man as a material being. The great aim of the mystery schools of all ages has been to reveal the workings of the law which connect man to the material and man the spiritual. The connecting link between the material man and the spiritual man is the intellectual man, for the mind partakes of both the material and immaterial qualities. The aspirant for higher knowledge must develop the intellectual side of his nature and so strengthen his will that he is able to concentrate all the powers of his being on and in the plane he desires. The great search for light, life, and love only begins on a material plane. Carried to its ultimate, its final goal is complete oneness with the universal consciousness. The foundation in the material is the first step. The foundation in the material is the first step. Then comes the higher goal of spiritual attainment. In the following pages, I will give an interpretation of the Emerald Tablets and their secret, hidden, and esoteric meaning. Concealed in the words of Thoth are many meanings that do not appear on the surface. Light of knowledge brought to bear upon the tablets will open many new fields for thought. Read and be wise, but only if the light of your own consciousness awakens the deep-seated understanding, which is an inherent quality of the soul. In the threefold light, Doriel. Okay, so he's gave you the introduction, and now I'm going to read to you his interpretation of Tablet 1. Tablet 1. The passing of Thoth into the halls of Amenti was not the change we call death. He merely placed his physical body beneath the ray of force later referred to as the cold flower of life, where it would be preserved indefinitely. As Thoth, he would not return, but while his body rested in suspended animation, his consciousness entered many bodies and lived many lives. Kior was the city of the priesthood of Atlantis. On Undal, the island just opposite Unal, there were two cities, or rather two divisions of one great city that covered the island. The island was entirely surrounded by terraced walls and divided across the center by a high wall. Kior faced Unal and was occupied by the priesthood, while the other side of the island was known as Chien and was occupied by the philosophic and scientific groups. No one was allowed on either part of the island, excepting by a pass signed by the leaders of a group. The mighty ones referred to were the Adepts of Atlantis, and these were 13 in number. Thoth-The, I mean, I've seen that name pronounced a lot of different ways. Father of Thoth was head or chief of the 13. They operated on the principle of what later became the Great White Lodge. They knew the way to the halls of Amenti, where for a time they would lie beneath the flower of life and rejuvenate their bodies. Unlike the masters, they did not leave their bodies there while they incarnated in other bodies, but only bathed in the fire of life and renewed their bodies. Thoth himself had descended to Amenti 1,000 times to renew his body, and as this was necessary about once every 50 years, Thoth was approximately 50,000 years old at the time of writing. He was 20,000 years old at the time of the sinking of Atlantis, therefore the writings of the tablets must have occurred about 20,000 years ago. Thoth lay his original body beneath the flower of light to be taken up again when he desires, and sends his consciousness into other bodies through birth. He also says definitely that he will rise again in the flesh in a time yet to come. This time mentioned is spoken of later in the tablets when the invaders from outer space attack the Earth. The secrets which he left were the great ship of war beneath the Sphinx and the secret of the pyramids. The men of Kem or Egypt, who were left as guards, have faithfully fulfilled the command and still guard the secrets. The arcane wisdom he gave them has enabled them to protect the secrets from the people who came after. The people of Thoth were not the mass of Atlanteans, but the group which lived on Undal and comprised the scientific, philosophic, and priest classes. They had learned to seek knowledge at its source, the Akashic records. The children of light came among them at times and taught them wisdom which enabled them to take the next step forward. The power of the eternal fire was the fire of the universal consciousness. Thoth-The, father of Thoth, was high priest of Undal, the mouthpiece of the children of light, and the dweller on Unal, to the kings and the people of the islands. Thoth was taught the mysteries which had been retained in the secret archives of the temple. He had developed in the past to such a degree that he readily grasped the truths which were taught him. The desire for ultimate knowledge aroused such tremendous forces and placed him on such a plane of vibration that the dweller became conscious of him. The dweller did not have the form or shape that man now has, but occupied a body similar to the bodies occupied by consciousness during the earliest part of the first cycle, the globular body. The globular body. The light and force emitted by such a body was too great for the average person to stand. Only a consciousness on a high plane of vibration could stand it and still remain material. The dweller could see in Thoth one who was ready to have the spark of light fanned into flame. The arousing of the flame brought to Thoth life stronger than the life of ordinary men, for as he grew in knowledge he was known for as he grew in knowledge he was shown the path to the halls of Amenti, where the flower of life force of the planet is concentrated. Standing before the lords of life and death, he received the key of life and death, with power to take up life or lay it down at will. With the attaining of power over life and death, Thoth was able to lay down his body and at will travel to the farthest extension of the space-time. After tasting of the wisdom of the cosmos, he found that it was centered in the hearts or minds of men. There he found greater mysteries, for it is through man that the cosmos extends into unexplored territory. Thoth was born about 20,000 years before the sinking of Atlantis, but before he had accepted a particular work, he did not pass on as others did who had gained the first illumination. Those who had been around him in youth passed on to Venus to be replaced by a wave of consciousness from Mars. The latter wave of consciousness was such that they could not be trusted with the science and wisdom of the earlier Atlanteans, for they would have misused it. The dwellers spoke the word of power which was heard by the lords of the cycles dwelling in Amenti, and they hearing directed the balance of the earth into new channels, causing the land to sink, carrying with it the science and knowledge which the mass of people had. This knowledge, though nothing in comparison to the knowledge of the children of light, was yet too great to remain in the hands of undeveloped ones. The flower of fire is not in the flower of the fire of life, but the pyramid of cold fire, which is the balance of the earth. The temple of light was not the temple of Unal, but the outer temple of the priesthood of Undal. The temple of Unal was never referred to as a temple, but only as the gateway or place of the dweller. Knowing of what it was composed, it was never thought of as being subject to destruction, and was therefore not considered in the sinking. Only a few of the wise men of Undal were left living when the rest of the land sank. The land of the hairy barbarians is the land now known as Egypt. Kem was the first seat of learning established by the Atlanteans. From there later they sent emissaries to other barbarous tribes in different parts of the Earth's surface. This was the plan mentioned to use Kem as the central home of the new race wisdom. The ship of the Master was a ship capable of traveling between planets and was armed with weapons that could destroy every living thing on Earth's surface if used at full power. In the atmosphere, it was driven by atomic motors, but outside the heaviside layer, it could be moved by thought, not only between planets, but into any space the mind of the pilot could visualize. Its structure was such that its materiality raised or lowered in vibrations as the will of the operator commanded. As Thoth learned the island of Unal, as Thoth left the island of Unal, for though he does not mention it, Undal had already gone down. The great temple or place of the dweller also sank, but was not destroyed. The barbarians, upon meeting Thoth and his followers, the Atlanteans, attempted to kill them, but were struck motionless by a paralyzing ray from Thoth's staff or rod of power. This rod was capable of transmitting or casting forth hundreds of different manifestations of force directed by the will of the holder. The apparent supernatural power of Thoth caused the barbarians to submit to him, and his statement to them that he was a child of the sun is the basis for the worship of the sun among many ancient races. Thoth was, of course, referring to the spiritual sun. It took many years to establish the new seed of the children of the sun, but when this was completed, emissaries were sent to other races to teach and guide them. As time passed, Thoth found it necessary to open a passage to Amenti for the renewal of his body, for even though filled with power, after hundreds of years it began to disintegrate. This was necessary because his work was not yet finished. After a long period of time, the barbarians of Chem developed in consciousness until they could go forward without the aid of Thoth. Thoth plans to enter the halls of Amenti and place his body under the flower of life while his consciousness goes elsewhere. The entrance to Amenti is below the Great Pyramid of Cheops of Khufu. I know that's pronounced differently, but we'll use it for now. Builded by changing the atomic structure of stone until it became very light, and then after it was in place, changing it again. Beneath the pyramid is the force room connected with the apex of the pyramid by a central shaft or well. In the upper portions of the shaft is a lens or crystal through which rays from the force chamber are directed. These are bent into time-space and curving open a dimensional pathway from beneath the pyramid to the Hall of Amenti, which thou in concurrent movement in space with the earth exists in its own space. The hidden chambers are the ones spoken of in the book of the Great Pyramid. The sarcophagus connects with the central shaft, and when one lies in it a specified length of time, his body is transported down the shaft to the central force chamber. The knowledge of this was preserved in latter years, but debased into ritual of initiation. It was first necessary to coat the body with a certain ointment for the occupant to be transported, and the knowledge of this was not retained by the latter Egyptians. The Great Pyramid is indestructible. If its inner parts were disturbed, forces would be let loose by the guardians which would destroy anyone or thing which came against it. Let me repeat that. The Great Pyramid is indestructible. If its inner parts were disturbed, forces would be let loose by the guardians which would destroy anyone or thing which came against it. Thoth latter incarnated as Hermes and as other great teachers, though not always on earth. Thoth leaves with the statement that those to come after will, in time, be able to tread the same path. That's Doriel's interpretation of Tablet 1. Now we're on to Tablet 2. Okay. Okay, so Tablet 2. The halls of Amenti are peculiar among hidden spaces of the earth, in that they are not in this octave of material vibration, but are in a fold of space set aside from other spaces. They have a direct connection with the positive and negative polarities of the Yarkima, and are thus flooded with light from not only the cosmic consciousness, but from the eye, Yod. Their approximate location in relationship to the earth is beneath Atlantis, but one has to move out of this space fold to enter. There are various places where this can be accomplished: Sulphur Springs, Oklahoma; Mount Shasta, California; Mictlan, South America, Shambhala, Tibet, Great Pyramid, Egypt, Black Forest, Germany, Benares, India, Atlas Mountains, Africa, Gobi Desert, and an unnamed valley in Alaska. The far past time is the first cycle, which is fixed in past space-time and is the particular period just after the negative descended on man and bound him in the material plane. The masters of that period, or children of light, formed their own bodies from the primal matter and imbued it with life. Though these bodies had the same outward form as man, their interior structure was different, having sense organs usable only by a double unit of consciousness, male and female. They were bound in the negative or disorder of man and were therefore free to accomplish things the rest of mankind could not accomplish. Whereas the physical body of Thoth had to be renewed every 50 years, the primal body required renewing only once in 100 years. It was in the first cycle that the halls of Amenti were builded by the children of light who descended to this planet. By the forces they controlled, they warped space and constructed Amenti and bound it to Earth. The dimensional walls around it protected it from entry by any except the highest consciousness. The great space was subdivided into other smaller spaces, and direct concentrations of force from the Yarkima were centered in them. There were 32 of these children of light. There were 32 of these children of light on the earth, having charge of the affairs of earth. In the halls was placed a concentration point of vital life force or spirit. Into it is poured that vital force of life which supplies the very life of the planet. When an object on earth disintegrates, the spirit which is freed is drawn to the flower of life in Amenti to be called forth at need. It acts for earth in the same capacity as the solar plexus acts for the human body. The thrones of the children of light were so placed that they were in the full flow of spirit which supplied their bodies as fast as they lost their own flow. Thus a body placed under it did not have to draw life directly from the source, but bathed in its radiance, the balance was fully maintained. When the consciousness was away, even though it be for centuries, the life force is so strong that the reservoir of the body, placed under it for 100 years, was so filled that it lost 1,000 years without renewal. Thus, 10 years of each 100 would keep the body young and powerful. In most instances, the body was left for great periods of time, and the children of light entered the bodies of men through birth. But occasionally they came forth in their original bodies, though not often. When one attained the third illumination, when one has attained the third illumination, he is made free of Amenti and can, if he desires, place his body beneath the fire of life and renew it from age to age. The seven lords are direct emanations or extensions from the seven cosmic consciousnesses beyond this. They work independent of and yet in harmony with this cosmic consciousness. They have control of certain forces from beyond such as negative disorder and have emanations on all inhabited planets in this cosmos. Other functions of the Lords are the control of time and space, separating the four times, and the holding back of an onrush of disorder from the negative reservoir upon the flames of consciousness which have broken away from it. It is their power which draws life force into its concentration point in the flower of life and holds it there. The Lord of Lords is the emanation from the ninth cosmic cycle and holds his or its title because it is the most highly developed and farthest extension of this I, Yod. It is the power which controls the negative in all conscious or cosmic cycles. Below him, but equal in regard to purpose and control of their own particular powers, are the lords of the 6 cycles above us. Though not of this cosmic consciousness, they are akin to it, for all are formed forth from the same basic material, ordered disorder, and have been born from the same source, the I, Yod, the primal source of creation. Thoth was brought before the lords by Horlet, the dweller on Unal, and there watched the dweller blend with one of the lords. In other words, enter into such harmony that they entered into such harmony that they became one. From him came forth a voice. The lords, not being of human form or vibration, could not speak in words. Their power was stepped down so that Thoth could hear. Later, he became able to raise his own vibration so that he could hear the silent voice of the lords. But this did not occur until he had passed certain tests. Thoth was given freedom of amenity, or was given the key whereby that space could be opened by him at will, and having access to the flower of life, need die only when he willed. Thoth learned the laws of creation so that he can take up any form or body he desires. Following the law, he must now choose what particular work he will do, for attainment of illumination brings greater opportunity and power to work. The height to which Thoth has attained is only a foothill of the greater mountains of transcendental light, toward which all cosmic consciousnesses are working. As Thoth had attained one goal, he could henceforth walk with those seeking a greater goal. It was one of the 32 children of light, not only of the lords who conduct. It was one of the 32 children of light, not one of the lords who conducted Thoth on his first tour of the halls of Amenti. The halls of Amenti, the places wherein the antithesis of life, which is death, reigned, this force being somewhat akin to that which is called life, is found in the place of life. It may seem paradoxical to call death akin to life, but if we realize that it is through the action of death on the negative that life becomes freer, we can see its kinship. The Lord of Death is not one of the lords from cycles above, but is of this cosmic cycle. He has charge of the action of death force upon the negative which surrounds each spark of consciousness. That darkness which is loss of consciousness or death is called night. For in it the consciousness loses memory of that which has been. He is told not to touch Thoth with loss of consciousness. The Lord of Death is told to see and recognize Thoth as a son of light, not to be held or touched by death. The hand of the Lord of Death is raised, sending forth flame symbolical of the light concealed in the darkness of death. Light banishes the darkness, and Thoth is shown uncounted millions of flames, each of flames, each a soul manifesting on this plane. The brightness or dimness of the flame showed the degree of negative disorder in which they were bound. The Lord of Death tells Thoth of the mysteries of life and death, explaining how the soul incarnates in a physical body, reaches the zenith of its growth, and then passes through change to leap forth again with greater light. Death comes, but only as a temporary thing. Life itself is immortal, existing from the beginning to the end. Always in the end, life and light must conquer death and darkness. Death desires that light banish. Death desires that light banish his power, for even death came forth from light. Thoth is shown his own soul as it drives out the darkness and flames forth into full light. The guide then leads Thoth into other greater spaces in Amenti and elsewhere, showing him mysteries revealed only to adepts. Among others, he was shown the inner spaces of the fourth dimension. Thoth was again brought before the lords, and by the lords who had first spoken to him was commanded to choose his work. Thoth of his own accord chooses to become a teacher, bringing souls from darkness into light. He is verified in his choice by the Lord and commanded to go forth and work as he has chosen. Thoth is led upward to earth, fulfilling the choice he has made. He closes with the statement that now again he goes to Amenti, leaving man for a time. This will be a non-stop video. I'm going to get to tablet 3 in just a second, but I'm going to put some incense on to keep me awake. I should have grabbed the coffee before I started this little escapade. However, I did not do that. So basically, people, what we're talking about today is the Emerald Tablet, and as you heard, that last interpretation by Dorial was pretty straightforward on the role of Thoth in our physical plane, his role in the spiritual planes, etc. I mean, the interpretations are pretty good for understanding. I do highly recommend that the whole book be read multiple times, because I still don't really understand all the tablets, and I've read it many times, man. I mean, it just gets more precise and clear each time you read it. I can clearly say that. It's the same with the Kabbalion. It's the same with the Corpus or the Pymander. I mean, I even have the Bible on my desk, and I read that every day too, you know. I mean, you should always have a Bible, man. I mean, this is like, you know, you can't live without it. But the point is, you know, it's good to have that because, you know, you want to know everything about everything. I have a better point. I'm just, you know, I'm running on a few hours of sleep and no coffee. So, here's tablet 3. The key of wisdom containing some of... Okay, tablet 3 interpretation. The key of wisdom containing some of the precepts given by Thoth to the barbarians, the children of Chem, was given to the keys was given so that the keys of light should not be lost to man. Wisdom and power walk hand in hand. Without both, either is useless and non-existent. For power is not created without wisdom, and wisdom is only attained through development and use of power. The proud person is not wise, but foolish, for pride causes the proud one to reject learning, for he measures all things by his own rule and standards. Silence is golden. Talking about evil turns the creative force upon it and gives it life and actuality. To attempt to rise beyond the law brings its own punishment, for nothing is beyond law, and the one who attempts to operate against the law breaks himself against the law. Fear should not be allowed to enter self, neither should we create fear in another, for fear is bondage. If within our hearts we have kindness, then those of like harmony are attracted to us. If this is not the case, then that one is ruled by disorder. The commands of the master within are the ones to be followed, and do not attempt to objectively do more. Riches are a means to an end, not the end. When the material needs are supplied, the hearts of the ancients should lead into higher realms. It is necessary to have a guide while on the path, otherwise one is led astray by attempting to find an easier way. Love is the beginning and end of the path, for in love lies oneness. Thoth gave this especially to the tribes to inculcate the teachings of brotherhood and oneness. The person who comes in trouble finds a relief in expressing himself. If he is hesitant, it is because the one to whom he has come has some flaw in his own nature which repulses. This statement is of great value. Extravagant speech always shows lack of balance, and it is harmful to either speak in such manner or listen, for most people are easily thrown off balance. Perfection is the only goal. You should not be satisfied with anything short of it. It is only lack of knowledge which prevents one from penetrating the veil behind which lies wisdom. Silence is the great key to advancement. Retain power within thyself in silence. Make not yourself great, for all have potentially the same power. True greatness does not require self-praise. Let others acknowledge your greatness, which is recognized by your attitude towards your fellow man. Each person finds a reflection of his own nature in the one before him. Therefore, listen not to the things others may say about a person. Only by examining his mind and his attitude toward his fellow can you find his true nature. If you store knowledge, do not withhold from one in need who earnestly asks. All are friends who seek the same goal. Do not let the words of an ignorant fool affect thee. Only the ignorant are affected by the ignorant. The vibrations from the mind of a person are perceptible. Words are not necessary. Thoth again gives a discourse of the mysteries, giving keys and symbols for interpretation by those who are ready. The immaterial part of man's nature, the soul, must be separated from a man's material nature. The flesh before it can go into the light of the cosmic sun. The soul is the fire within. The soul is the fire, while the flesh is akin to earth. Each returns to its source. The inner fire penetrates to all planes in which the great fire manifests, including the material. Earth, being dense, supports within a limited range even the fire of the soul. Otherwise, The soul, being infinite, would change finite earth to an infinite thing. It is the development of consciousness which allows the eye to see color and light. The infinite fire, developing and changing eternally, also develops the perceptions. Man is a changing fire, never the same. Thus he ever advances from day to day until he rises above the darkness, which does not change while it is still darkness. However, darkness becomes so infused with fire that it ceases to be darkness. Strife, hatred, and fear are the results of darkness. Freedom from darkness eliminates these. Name and form, otherwise individual separation, cease to exist in the full light of awakened consciousness. The creative ability comes with the opening of the third eye, and are the effects of the training required to fully open that eye. Man attains only through effort and experience, for such are the purifying agents which cleanse the dross of darkness from the soul. Materiality is but an unconscious form of manifestation of consciousness, but thus in the final analysis materiality and immateriality are one. Nothing that is material is fixed. It is constantly passing through change. This is its path from creation onward. Man adds a consciousness to this law of nature. Law, in its final analysis, is all that exists. All other things are fantasies and illusions formed in the mind of those without knowledge. Wisdom comes only to those who seek her. You must take the first step and then continue to walk forward. The halls of death, beneath the halls of the flower of life, contained the reflection of the souls of men. It was there that Thoth could read the story of man's advancement from darkness to light. A seeming paradox is contained in the words brought from the future of infinity's end. The torchbearer of insupportable brightness, is the beginning and the end of all things. For as all things proceeded forth from it, so in the end must return to it, thus completing the circle. In the torchbearer, the eventual is conceived. Thus, the plan is known to the direct emanation, the Lords. The Lords. The seven is the title of the Lords of the cycles beyond us, each called by the number of his cycle and its relationship to the I, Yod, Yod. Coming from cycles beyond, they are part of the absolute essence of each of these cosmic consciousnesses. They are bound to neither life nor death, for their activity is controlled directly by the Yarkima. Thus, their life is not the life of emanations from a cosmic cycle, as they are not dependent on spirit for manifestation. The logos, meaning word or reason, is an emanation from the lords of each cycle. Always remember that there is a lord of this cycle, also not included in the seven, as it is literally an emanation of pure reason from the I, Yod. As this comes along, the Yarkima and they are the central cell through which it flows. They are vast in countenance, for they extend into all cosmic spaces, yet are small because they are centered in form. 3. The Lord of the cycle just beyond us is the custodian of those things which directly affect mankind. He is responsible for the entrance of the negative, and it is through his power that the reflections of the souls of men were focused in the halls of the dead. The flow and the direction of that force which we know as life force is controlled by the Lord of Four. Some of the greater forces, such as death, are drawn from 4, a cycle where life ceases to be, that is, as he knows life, as we know life. The lords each have their function, affording entrance into the cosmic space in powers which they have developed in their own progress through space. This is stepped down and transmitted through the lords, each giving of what he has to those below. The 5th is guardian of the word, opening the final gate when man is ready for it. 6, 7, and 8 have charge of certain of the fixed skeletal frameworks of future time, while 9 takes charge of disorder after it becomes order. In a way, they are assistants to this cosmic consciousness, carrying out aspects necessary to the development of consciousness that this cosmic consciousness is not as yet capable of handling. In these numbers also lie a key to the word, a key to the word, but as yet this cannot be given. Attainment of it is indeed the attainment of life and light. Okay, so that's tablet 3, interpretation by Dorial. Now moving on to tablet 4, Thoth. In this tablet gives some of his own experiences in his search for wisdom. He also gives a definite statement of his mastership. The breaking of his soul from bondage was the first projection of his consciousness. Through this developed power, Thoth was able to explore the mysteries of space and time. He explored other planets and ultimately reached the inner circle of light, the first dimension. The planet of beauty was one of the 7 inner planets which surround the cosmic consciousness in the first dimension. The shape moving in order where the globular bodies were the bodies of illuminated ones. Thoth was able to go into all solar systems and see the different degrees of development reached on the planets closest and farthest from the sun. He didn't spell furthest right. Okay, by men are designated those forms of life activated by consciousness. Though their forms were seldom that of Earthmen, the conquerors of Earth were the dwellers on Antares, the same race that had come to Earth in past ages. They had solved the secret of interplanetary travel ages ago, for they were the most enlightened ones of their solar system. Matter and form were theirs to command, and from the universal mother they were able to create anything they desired. Thoth learned that man was universal, existing in every part of space and an integral part of the cosmic consciousness. The form of man, so far as its materiality was concerned, was one of the basic matter, was one with the basic matter of the stars. As planets revolve around their sun, so the material body of man revolves around its central sun, the soul. When one has freed his consciousness from the darkness of disorder, he becomes one of those masters who work upon the negative from outside. Man's body is formed from the primal substance, cosmic dust, and the ether in which the planets flow is also cosmic dust. The solving of the mysteries of space gives the causes behind many manifestations of law which otherwise could not be understood. Thoth now knew that endlessly he could explore the gem of truth until at last he might pass into the cosmic cycle beyond this. Thoth was free because he now knew that truth is limitless, and now through eternity he could pursue knowledge. Man is not truly of the earth or material, but in the final analysis is the divine fire itself. Man is not truly of earth or material, but in the final analysis is the divine fire itself. Interesting stuff. Alright, so, okay, Thoth gives the key to the freedom of consciousness from the material, and this freedom opens the path to other worlds and planes. When this is once attained, man is no longer bound, but is free. Only through knowledge comes the ability to rise from the earthly body and become one with the light. As space is ordered and follows law, so man must also cause order to arise within his own being. When this order and harmony of all parts of his being is perfect, then he no longer is bound to the material plane, and rising through this harmony with law, he can ascend to the cosmic plane. In freeing the consciousness from the body, it is best to expand the solar plexus, the flower of life of the body, and send the life force flooding through it so that the body is vitalized in preparation for the consciousness to leave. Otherwise, the consciousness is reluctant to leave it. Then comes the shutting off of outside sensory impressions, which should be preluded by a short fast. After the silence induced by the will is complete, the consciousness should be centered in the pineal, and the image, thought, or picture of the place you desire to go should be reformed. Then an intense effort of will directed in the proper curves, see College Lessons of the Brotherhood, and you are released from the body. The cosmic consciousness is, literally speaking, in the first dimension or plane, and its harmonies and order are such that man, while still of the material, cannot realize its perfect movement. The soul of man is a divine fire, a flame cast forth from the great fire, yet still one with it. Light and darkness is man, yet separate in power and order. The prayer is really a command. And is for the purpose of establishing a harmony or a connection between the soul or consciousness and the cosmic consciousness. When man has fully freed his soul from bondage to the material, then he is no longer subjected to disorder or negative and can seek wisdom at the source of wisdom. Tablet 5, the interpretation by Doriel. This perhaps is the most mystical of the tablets, containing also information hitherto withheld from man. Thoth is musing on the glories of Atlantis as its zenith as compared to the world around him at that time. The dweller of Unal, the master Horlet, was ruler of all earth through the cosmic power he wielded, though he did not intervene in the government of nations unless it was absolutely necessary. Horlet was not entirely of this cycle, but was one of the extensions of one of the lords of the cycles, manifesting on Earth's surface to fulfill certain necessary functions, helping to establish knowledge and harmony among men. He established the kingdoms of Atlantis, dividing them among the races and placing the highest developed ones as kings over the rest of men. He then built the temple of He then built the temple on Unal from the ether or primal substance, molding it to form by his will, using the power of Yetalan, not translated, to hold. That means that word is translatable. To hold it in form. The temple was square and had 3 miles to a side and was a mile high. It did not truly rest in third-dimensional space, but in the ninth dimension. Therefore, the blackness. No weapons from the third dimension could harm or even touch it, for anything cast against it would be lost in the curves of the ninth dimension. It had within its heart the essence of light, for there was the gateway to Amenti, where the flower of life burns eternally. The dweller used the word in molding the form of the temple, the word being then expressed as Yetalan. Within the temple, the dweller erected mighty machines of many kinds, forming them out of primordial matter, and started them in motion by his will. Thus actuated, they would run forever, for the will which supplied their motive power is an eternal thing. In the temple, the dweller was at most times unmanifest. That is, the physical body which he occupied from time to time remained in the temple, while the consciousness, which was he, manifested elsewhere. 3 from among the highest developed of men were chosen to be messengers of the dweller. These were carefully trained in their work by the dweller, while through them he chose others and had them placed on Undal. Opposite Unal to the teachers and priests to Atlantis. These latter were the priests, scientists, and philosophers. Each of these was taught for 15 years by the 3 before he was allowed to teach others. Thoth made his first contact with the dweller through one of the 3 messengers. Okay. Okay, in the temple was most manifest. 3 from among the highest developed of men. Okay. Thoth made his first contact with the dweller through one of the 3 messengers. He was led before the dweller in the temple in the place of the great fire. This fire was not the fire of life, but the radiation caused by the junction of the space of the temple with the space of Amenti. Thoth was led before the dweller, who, seated on the throne, reflected the light from the gateway. To Thoth he appeared to be literally clothed with fire. He was informed by the dweller that he was chosen to be keeper of the records, for the dweller could not look into man's future, knowing the changes in consciousness would eventually bring a wave of units of consciousness of low development to Earth. He also knew the destruction of parts of Earth's surface must come, so steps must be taken so that nothing would be lost. Thoth had earned this great privilege by his own effort. God, man. The reference to the dweller as master of cycles is a reference to Earth's cycle, not cosmic cycles. He was the guardian of man's progress from one Earth cycle to another. Thoth asks for wisdom to be given so that he can pass the knowledge he is to be given to man. Thoth is promised eternal life so that he may fulfill his purpose. He remained in the temple until he received his full illumination. Thoth uses the knowledge given him to penetrate the secrets of space, time, and matter, and into these discoveries even more and greater secrets. In the latter days of Atlantis, the great wave of consciousness which had once occupied the bodies of Earth men had passed to Venus, and the consciousness which occupied the bodies of the mass were from Mars. These were more materialistic than the preceding consciousness, and looking to the darkness instead of the light, opened Yog-Sothoth, the gateway to the cycle below. Some of the consciousnesses of the preceding waves were attracted by material power and entered into the plans. It was perhaps this part of their nature which had kept them from going on with their fellows. The one who opens the door to the cycle below must be a master, else he will not be so balanced in power that he can keep those from below from coming up. While men were doing this, the dweller was detached from his body and projected to where it was taking place. When the dweller saw what was taking place, he returned to his body and called the messenger and sent them through Atlantis, bringing certain ones to Undal. The dweller then descended to Amenti and passed from there to force chambers opening into the channel through which Earth's balance passes. See inner Earth. When the pyramid of force passed, he drew upon the power of the seven and changed the balance of Earth from one channel to another and closed the old channel. The resulting sinking of Atlantis shattered the opening by destroying the space warping machines set up by the Atlanteans. Thoth is called before the dweller and commanded to go forth to the lands still above water, taking those from Undal and removing the records of the ancient wisdom. He is commissioned as teacher or conveyor of light. Thoth gathered together their records, scientific instruments, and machines, and with the wise men of Atlantis entered a spaceship and flew to Kem. The motive power of the spaceship was energy extracted from the sun and stored. Electricity is one form of this force, but qualified by emanations from the pyramid of force. When the spaceship had left, the dweller sealed the temple and sank it in Undal beneath the waves. The three then went elsewhere. Thoth arrived in Egypt and conquered the barbarians. He then buried the spaceship and certain implements of warfare beneath a great rock, which was then carved as the Sphinx. When the time arrives that invaders from space attack the Earth, it will be brought forth to repel them. Thoth gives a key for opening the hidden passage from the pyramid to the Sphinx. The same key will open the doorway to the room from which opens the path to Amenti. Tablet 6. Tablet 6. In this tablet, Thoth speaks of magic, using the term to denote the usage of developed power in the warfare between forces of order and disorder. This warfare has continued since the fall of man in the first cycle and will continue until the cosmic consciousness is ready to pass through Sun Tal. There are adepts who use the great powers of the cosmos for destruction instead of construction. For law operates either for good or evil, positive or negative. Those adepts who used cosmic force for destruction were the Dark Brothers, black magicians who fought against the children of light. They attempted to hold and pull back those whom the children of light were trying to bring into light. The Black Brotherhood, in the antithesis of the White Brotherhood, one destroys the other builds. The Black Brotherhood has an organization known today as the Black Dugpas, the Adepts having their Chelos as the White Adepts have. They they pattern their organization after that of the White Lodge and oft times deceive men into thinking they are the White Lodge. They help men to gain certain things and powers until they have them in their toils. Then, when there is no escape, they clamp down. They have certain specific powers developed, such as opening the seventh dimension and calling in elementals to fulfill their purposes. They have the power of mind control through thought transference and hypnosis. Through this, they gain control over the mind and lead. They gain control of the mind and lead it into disorder. If one surrenders to the Black Brotherhood and signs his name in their book, he is bound to them during that incarnation. Man's soul must not be bound if it desires to advance in life. Surrender to the dark forces entails the shutting off of light. Only through darkness and disorder is man bound to the flesh, therefore he should become light and order. The Black Brotherhood always tries to pull down the person who has gained development along the path of light, for they have already developed powers. It is for this reason that the person who is highly developed has to withstand more than the person of little or no development. The more one has learned of light, paradoxically, the more he knows about manipulation of disorder, and the more valuable he is to the Black Brotherhood. The development of reason and balance is necessary so that we can separate darkness from light, order from disorder, in the words of those who come to us. Only through overcoming obstacles and continual striving will the goal be attained. In opposition to the Black Brotherhood stand the White Lodge, striving constantly to free men from disorder and warding off the powers of the Black Brotherhood. If the seeker has his real desire on light, not power, the White Lodge will stand between him and the Black Brotherhood, for they have greater power than the Black Brotherhood. Yet the Black Brothers are allowed to exist, for they form part of the darkness which man must overcome and rise above. The warfare between the forces of the Black Brotherhood and the White Lodge has continued since the beginning. The masters and great adepts of the White Lodge use the power of the awakened sun in man to guard and protect. The children of light, they who never lost their original oneness, are also guardians of man who is their brother. They are custodians of secrets that push back the darkness, and these are given to the ones who travel the way towards mastership. The one who desires to be a master must learn mastery of the laws which regulate manifestation. He must conquer fear and walk unafraid on the pathway of light. The secrets of Thoth regarding the operation of the law of protection are offered. Only by knowing can you conquer. You must use knowledge given, otherwise it is useless. Many of the vibrations which seem negative are really from within our own self, not from outside conditions. Lack of mind balance often results in the arousing of such negative thoughts that we really feel as if outside entities or forces were at work on us. Apply the light of reason to the disturbance and find if it is from within or without. If from within, start a vibration in the pineal and send it in irregular waves through the body. That is, send the first wave through, count one, send another wave, count three, send another wave, then two, and so on. After doing this for a while, send it through in regular waves in this manner. Send wave, count two, and so on. If upon examination you find that it is an outside force, you should go into a dark room or cave and draw a circle around yourself, not closing the circle until you are within it, and follow the formulas given. The formula given is serviceable by others as well as yourself. The power given may be used. I don't walk on water. Tablet 7. This tablet opens with a command to open your mind to the wisdom of Thoth. He says that life is filled with obstacles that must be conquered. The light of the cosmic must be allowed to flow into and through the manifestation. The goal of all seeking must be oneness with the cosmic consciousness, otherwise there is limitation. Light is both finite and infinite. Because God, the cosmic consciousness, is light and all things manifest and unmanifest are a part of God, therefore there can be no real separation. Even in the veil of darkness, which we call negative, the essence of light is hidden ready to spring forth when the veil is sundered. The infinite brain is lost to the comprehension of men, who do not realize that everything is only separate manifestations of the one cosmic brain. All aspects of wisdom, either in gods or men, are parts of the one wisdom manifesting through diversified channels. Law and order are the fundamental rules of all creation, either in God or man, for only in order is balance or equilibrium found. Thoth is again speaking of the far past time before Atlantis sank. His first introduction was through the Dweller, but afterward he knew the key and was able to enter himself. How different he was from the seekers today when given a key he used it. The lords of the cycles taught Thoth of the cycles beyond so that he had a knowledge of them and their workings, even though he could not penetrate through Suntal to the higher cycles. Thoth promises to give of the wisdom he had learned. We are told that the lords are guides to man, and this they are for they teach him of those things which are beyond the scope of this cosmic consciousness, and he thereby gains knowledge of the extensions of the I, Yod, Yod. According to the ancient symbolism, wisdom was found in the flame. Fire coming from the unmanifest, existing for a time in the manifest, and then disappearing into the unmanifest, became the symbol for consciousness, which comes from the unmanifest, exists for a time in the physical body, and disappears into the unmanifest. The man Thus, man is literally told to seek wisdom within his consciousness. The seven had come from beyond cycle time, which is limited depending as it does upon radiation from the original infinite atom. The seven were part of the cosmic consciousness which came forth from the eye, Yod, before we did, and were therefore formed while we were still a part of disorder. They had developed past the man stage, though when they occupied this cosmic cycle, they were like men, consciousness in the ultimate is formless and flexible, assuming any form of which it has conception. Thoth is told that now he is free to travel the path until the final circle is completed and that which was once one again becomes one. The cosmic consciousness which the cosmic consciousnesses which occupy the cosmic cycles beyond us were formed in ordered sequence, not all at once. There are seven of these beyond us, that is farther out in space from the eye, Yod. These lords, though manifesting here, are still connected with their own cosmic consciousnesses. Infinity is but a part of the greater space which we call transcendental. When the eye, Yods, have completed their extension into infinite space, they will join the torch bearer in transcendental space. The spirals of time-space must be consciously known to one before he can move in them. When space and time are known, one has developed the power to move backward and forward in space and time. Life and death exist only as comparative terms. Everything has its opposite. Remove one pole and the other ceases to exist. In the plane of consciousness in which the higher cosmic consciousness of nine manifests, death is not known, therefore life also is not known. There is only existence, immortal and eternal, without change of focal point of manifestation or loss of consciousness. When man conquers death, he also has mastered life, and to him both cease to exist. The Lord of Nine, in his own plane, is timeless, for time is a result of the existence of materiality, and the ninth cosmic consciousness does not manifest a materiality. The soul of man is the flame which is bound to the mountain, flesh. When we have become one with the eye, Yod, in the final completion of the infinite circle, materiality and life which is one with death will cease to exist. In the 18th cycle also, life and death are one and only eternal existence manifests. The 8th cosmic cycle is the cycle of light, for here the infinite cycle is concentrated upon the disorder sent from the 9th cycle, breaking it into divisions of kind which are transmitted to lower cosmic cycles. As disorder changed to order is the basis of everything. Light is master of all that exists. When the two parts of a unit of consciousness have become fully one, and the other parts have become one with one, thus becoming all, it is not impossible to go forward into the higher cosmic cycle. Thoth states clearly that all parts of his unit are one when he says that his goal is the all thing. Thoth uses a prayer to light, but as always, tread the same path. I'm just kidding, but yeah. He commands his followers to ever keep their faces toward the light, turning their thoughts toward the master within. Thus shall they avoid the glittering promises of material power promised by the dark brothers. That is Tablet 7 interpretation by Doriel. On the Tablet 8, Thoth has attained the power of mastership and with the ability to enter any interlocking world and there take on form, and also the ability to enter inner spaces of the fourth dimension. In symbols, the keys of wisdom are found. Only those who search for the hidden meanings find the way. There is constant change and evolution in man, both as material and spiritual. As he develops in consciousness, he blends more and more with the essence of consciousness, which is formless in the ultimate, and finally he attains to that cosmic cycle wherein nothing material manifests in form. Thoth commands them to search out the mysteries of the inner earth and learn of the balance of earth, the pyramid of force which is composed of the essence of that force which causes atoms to cast off particles of themselves. Man must find the pyramid and stand either in body or projection before receiving its universal force. He commands them to enter the blue-lighted temple, which is the great hall of Amenti, ever where the seven sit. Man is both body and consciousness, but the consciousness, the flame, must absorb the body, earth. Only through striving can wisdom be found, hidden as it is within darkness, and yet in that darkness the essence of flame exists, and in this is the true wisdom found. The kingdom of shadows was that octave of vibration in which were placed those brought from lower cosmic cycles, when the gateway was opened by man. This was in the third or Polarian cycle, and the delvers in darkness were men who loved material power, rather than to devote their lives to spiritual things. Their beings called up were formless, as only the consciousness was brought up, and bodies must be formed here. They, like the elementals, being separated from their own cosmic consciousness and its creative powers, and were not able to combine with this cycle because they had not developed its primal curves. Only by the will of man and the extracting of spirit from blood could they take form. The masters drove most of them back through the lower gateway, but there were some who remained in the place built for them, coming forth only when the name was called and the blood sacrifice was offered. They took on the apparent form of man, but their actual appearance was the body of man or woman with a serpent head. They were able to cast a hypnotic glamour around them and appear to assume the features of man. It is this which forms the basis for belief in the hypnotic powers of the serpent. They assumed the forms of leaders who were secretly slain, and gradually they and the men who called them took over the control of the nations. They had all of the appearance of men, but there was one word they were unable to pronounce. This was taught by the masters to man, and it became a law that every man who had office must pronounce this word before the people once each lunar month. If he failed, he was killed. This forced this forced them from place among men, and gradually they were forgotten, but still exist in their own place, unable to enter because man has forgotten the rites which summon them. The word was Kinnigan. This word has come up before. It is Kininigen. The master of either white or black magic may summon them, but only a white master, a white magician, may have the power to control them. They rule through fear, conquer fear, and you have gained light. Thoth states that he was seen. Thoth states that he has been to Suntal and even looked within the sixth dimension. They move only through angles and never through curves. The projected consciousness, which tries to penetrate the sixth dimension, will infallibly be attacked by the hounds of the barriers. Only by moving through space in circles can you evade the hounds. Only in the circle is protection. Return to the body is of no avail. However, one does not stumble upon them accidentally. Thoth had his experience in the past, and it taught him caution. He attempted to pass the gateway, Suntal, and the guardians came at him. He knew the law of circles and angles and evaded them. Returning to his body and completing the protection, the hounds of the barrier do not literally devour or destroy the soul, but bind it from further manifestation until this cosmic cycle is completed. Then it may combine with the next cosmic consciousness. Even after completing his protection, he must be careful not to approach the sixth dimension in angular movement. Thoth repeats again and again his warning about movement through curves. He also tells them not to attempt to pass Suntal before the time, for few have succeeded. He also tells how to recognize the guardians. Tablet 9. The first page consists of commands to seek the light rather than darkness, so that you may realize the oneness of all things. The command is given to seek for wisdom and not allow the material to hold you back, for only wisdom creates harmony. Even in the time in which Thoth wrote, the wisdom of the ancient races was forgotten among the people who were descendants of the barbarian tribes Thoth found after he left Atlantis. Man is part of the essence of consciousness, but that knowledge is forgotten by the mass of mankind. Thoth, through projection of consciousness, realized that consciousness is the ultimate reality, and that the body was the fetter which binds man to the physical world. Through experience gained in projection, he learned of the curves and angles of space. Thoth begins to state some of the laws which were as mysterious to the mass of people of his time as they are today. That which seems to be the totality of all things is only one facet, only one aspect of the jewel of truth. Matter is fluid insomuch as it is constantly disintegrating to be formed into new combinations. Other spaces spoken of are interlocking worlds, the inner spaces of the fourth dimension and the other dimensions. The frequency of the number 9 is spoken of, including 9 lords of cycles, though we are told only of the 7. The 9 include the lords of this cosmic cycle.
Welcome to Red Ice Radio.
And the one below. Time-space is spoken of as being fully concealed. Time-space is spoken of as being full of concealed ones, the concealment being behind the curves of the space spiral. As consciousness in some form is present in everything, it follows that it must also be in the diffusions of past time matter. In and through man alone can the path to other planes be opened. The circle represents completion of the opening of the channel of force passing through the centers of the body. The word is the vibration which loosens the power. Only through this can life really be realized. Man is not material, though seeming to be, he is light, springing from the eternal source and only appearing as a material being, and even materiality is only so in seeming, for in the ultimate the material becomes light. Thoth seeks constantly for more wisdom to add to that which he already has. Thoth journeys to the halls of Amenti to ask the lords the question, where is the source? He is commanded by the Lord of Nine to free himself from the body, for only in the spirit can this be truly answered. Thoth frees himself from the body and is cast into the abyss, literally the great deep, and is there shown the moulding of order from disorder. The Lord of Nine has temporarily harmonized him with the full flow of the Yarkima, and he can see into the eye, Yod, in the Erech, and see the creation and forming of a cosmic consciousness. We are shown that the true word is order, which changes all disorder into its own likeness. The life in man is a manifestation of order and therefore a key to the word. If you can realize the full meaning of the passage, you have the key to the lost word. Life is an expression of the order which proceeds forth from the absolute fire of the torchbearer. We are thus again shown that the word is order and harmony. The path is the word. The path to the word lies in ordering your life so that chaos is eliminated from it. Man is lost from the word because he has allowed disorder and chaos to rule his life. Every effort put forth, every conquest of disorder brings us closer to the word. Tablet 10 interpretation. I just finished Tablet 9 for you. Tablet 10. The thought which grew in the abyss was the first expression of activity and movement. Without law, which is order, nothing could exist in form. Time, the great secret, is a key to freedom. Time, the great secret, is a key to freedom, for when man conquers time, he has also conquered death. The infinite jewel of truth can never be fully read, for truth brings forth extensions of itself, and as one truth is mastered, other truths appear. Thoth questions the dweller about time and space, and the dweller tells him of the beginning of all things in the great void. He tells him of thought, which sprang into being, and is questioned as to thought being eternal. The answer of the dweller is so plain as to be little amplification to those who have studied the 6th and 7th grades of the Brotherhood College work. Thoth finds that time is angular in movement, yet being within curved walls, and to penetrate into past time, the consciousness must be moved in curves starting in the pineal. The same exercise given earlier. Thoth mastered time and was able to move backward and forward in time, seeing strange sights and learning from sight man's beginning. Thoth again exhorts man to seek for light, for only thus can they know their own soul. He also tells that in all matter, light or consciousness exists, though not always conscious consciousness. Thoth tells of his wonderful experience in Amenti when the Lords opened the path to their own cycles and allowed him to see with his own eyes that which exists beyond. From this, Thoth learned that progression and order are the same in all cosmic cycles, and that all are working in harmony toward the same ends. Thoth was able to see the purpose behind the pushing out into space of cosmic cycles, and with the Lord of Nine could feel the drawing together of the extensions of the different yods. He learned that in words which are examples of vibration lie the key to the opening of spaces and even cycles. He gives a vibratory word which is the key of life. He speaks of interlocking worlds and spaces set apart from the one in which we dwell, each of these filled with manifestations of consciousness. He then relates a wonderful experience of calling from within the sixth dimension one who had been imprisoned by the lords of Arulu. She was one who then occupied the past cosmic cycle, attempted to come into this cosmic cycle, and failed and was imprisoned by the lords of Arulu. Thoth, through his knowledge, opens the gateway and calls forth this imprisoned consciousness. He commands the lords to release her and by their secret names forces obedience. She then again becomes a part of this consciousness of which she once before was a part. He states that knowledge is called by the ignorant magic, and tells them not to be afraid, for all is manifestation of law. Everyone has the force if he knows how to use it, but few have the knowledge. Those who fear the unknown make of that fear a living thing. All fears of mankind have their source in the Dark Lords. Conquer fear and be free. Man makes himself according to his thoughts, a being of light or one of darkness. That's interpretation of Tablet 10. On to Tablet 11's interpretation. Thoth tells men of his time about the ages they and their ancestors have known him, and this alone should have been enough to make them realize his power. He reminds them that he has been the keeper of the mysteries of past ages and has brought them from savagery to light. He tells them that he is now going to reveal to them some of the elder mysteries revealed to him and his ancestors by the children of light and the lords of the cycles. Thoth tells them how a way may be formed to open the gateway to the halls of Amenti. Drawing a line in a geometrical angle from the Sphinx, the key to opening the secret chamber beneath the pyramid may be found. The cycles Thoth speaks of are the cosmic cycles from the positive side of this arec, and the negative side of the other arec, toward which we are moving. The negative side of this and the positive side of the other each have 14 cosmic cycles. The lords of the cycles are of the central all of each cosmic consciousness. They know the eventual perfection of all. For the first time, Thoth mentions the Lord of below, the Lord from below, i.e., the lower cosmic cycle. Each cosmic consciousness thus has its representative in all cosmic cycles. Thoth is told by the Lord of Nine that though he is great and one with the cosmic consciousness, yet there are mysteries of which he as yet does not know. Thoth is told that though he knows much, yet hidden within each cosmic consciousness are things he will not fully know until all become one. The expansion of each consciousness is different, for each is performing a different part in the infinite plan. Each supplements the other so that the growth of each one reacts upon the other. One is just as necessary as the other, though some can perform greater tasks. There is no real above or below, for these are comparative terms. The cosmic consciousnesses are the means through which the torchbearer changes disorder and chaos to the order and law. Each works in its own space, fulfilling necessary functions, and the lower cosmic cycle is just as important in the great plan as the highest. The higher cosmic cycles are merely of greater ability. All cosmic consciousnesses are one in the final analysis, just as all units of soul are one in the cosmic consciousness. The difference in ability of the higher and lower cosmic consciousnesses is compared to the boy and man. Thoth is truly giving an example of the microcosm and the macrocosm, as above, so below. The lords, though manifesting in amenity, are yet connected with and a part of their own cosmic cycle. Their purpose in manifesting in cosmic cycles other than their own is for the purpose of aiding certain growths in the soul of man and transmitting the results to their own cosmic consciousness, thus laying the foundation for the quality of the disorder allowed to flow to each cosmic cycle. Perfection would be the goal, though we should always realize that perfection is proceeding in direct proportion to our growth, to our own growth. What today seems perfection, tomorrow will be imperfection, for we know that imperfection. Okay, let me reread this. What today seems perfection, tomorrow will be imperfection. For we know that perfection is not yet realized even in the torchbearer. Thoth says that now he goes to Amenti, yet will live with them in the truth he has taught, almost the same as the sayings of Jesus. He gives the injunctions for them to turn all effort toward becoming one with the light. Thoth concludes the tablet with the command to lift their eyes to the sun and break free from the darkness. Tablet 12, the interpretation of Tablet 12. I just finished the Tablet 11. The last tablet interpretations are very short, so bear with me. If you've been here this long, you might as well stick around. Thoth has conquered time and therefore has full realization of the law of cause and effect. He has been able to penetrate to past and effect back to cause and know that nothing happens by chance and that the future is not fixed by fate, but reached by the law of effect resulting from cause set up. From the first cause to the farthest extension, all things must move according to this law. Knowing this, man should be careful of the causes he sets up. Thoth begins to speak of the future according to causes set up. Man's destiny is the final blending with light, even though he moves through darkness during material incarnations. When he speaks of the future light-born, he is speaking of the seventh cycle, and he also tells of the chaos that must come first. Though in the end of light will conquer, though in the end light will conquer the darkness. Man has risen high in development in past ages and passed on closer to the sun state, and what has happened before will happen again. The ones to whom Thoth spoke would overcome and pass on, their place be taken by another wave of consciousness from a lower planet. The ancient race would in time be forgotten, and the rulers would become gods to those who came after. Of such were Osiris, Horus, and Isis. Man's soul only remains on this planet until he receives the first degree of illumination, then passes to Venus, from there to Mercury, and finally to the Sun, where it becomes one with the cosmic consciousness. After they are gone, the knowledge they have will be forgotten by man, excepting those who are appointed custodians. The age-old struggle will go on, man constantly striving to regain that which he lost. Some there are who are so greatly in disorder that they will strive to hold others back. But light must conquer darkness, order banish disorder, though the earth tremble from the combat. According to the prophecy, the time is now when this shall come to pass. The prophecy on this page is so plain, no comment is needed, save to say that we are now entering the period spoken of. In the end, light will reign, and man becomes one with the all-pervading consciousness, and shall pass as one into the higher cosmic cycle. Thoth prepared to leave the outer earth and return to Amenti, placing his body beneath the fire of life, while his soul goes elsewhere. When man again rises to light, he promises that he will come forth again. He adjures them to guard the secrets he has given them, and especially the entrance to the halls of Amenti. How well they kept their trust